Hi guys, wow, finally some truth from Nigel Farage. He claims in this video that he posted onto social media that the Tories are a disaster, that their policies will result in middle-class families facing a massive tax hike. Of course, no mention of people on the lower end of the pay scale. They don't generally vote for people like Farage. It's generally well-to-do, middle-aged people instead. The only problem here is that Nigel doesn't explain why.
If our tax system wasn't broken enough, there's now been some really big, deep dive analysis done into Jeremy Hunt's recent globalist tax-raising budget. It's incredible. A couple who are both on $60,000 a year will, in the next decade, pay another £40,000 in tax. But worse still, single parent, 2 kids, earning $50,000 a year, if they get a £10,000 increase, by the end of this decade, that'll be worth 800 quid to them. Yeah, that's right. Over 90% of it will be lost. So what's the point getting a promotion? What's the point working harder? All of this takes away the incentive to work, takes away the value to get on in life. The Conservatives are destroying ambition. They're destroying small businesses. They are making Britain even more broken than they have already. It's a disaster.
Wow, isn't he one to speak? Talking about businesses, small businesses being destroyed. The guy who delivered on Brexit. Now, why are businesses struggling at the moment? Well, many of them are struggling because they can't export like they could when the UK was a member of the EU. These businesses are closing down. Some of them are moving operations to Europe in order to remain viable. If they're closing down in Britain, they're laying people off. This means that there is less money available for the Exchequer. So the Exchequer has to find solutions. What are these solutions? Well, to raise taxes. But they're not going to raise taxes on the wealthiest, like people like Nigel Farage. No, they're going to increase taxes on the poorest in society and the middle class. Because they don't want to touch their donors. They don't want to touch their peers, the richest in society. That's what it's all about. Protecting the richest in society at the expense of the poorest in society. And this attempt to claw back some money is a consequence, in part, to Brexit. Now, if we look at other countries around, developed countries around the world, most of them are returning, if not all of them, are returning to pre-pandemic levels. Their economies are improving once again. The UK is not. Now, what happened differently in Britain to the rest of the other developed nations? Well, they left the European Union. They left the single market. And of course, they put up barriers to trade. Probably the only country in the Western world that voluntarily put up barriers to trade. And this is the consequence of that. So the Tories are not going to tax the multimillionaires and the billionaires because they donate to the party. They're going to tax everyone else. And as we've seen, their advice to small businesses or medium-sized businesses that want to continue to operate, want to continue to export, is just to set up abroad, set up in the EU. As I said, many of these businesses are struggling. They're laying off staff. They're increasing their prices, which is eating into their profits. If it's eating into the profits, is eating into the amount of money they can pay in post-profit taxes to the Exchequer. Economic decline obviously reduces the amount of money available to the Exchequer as well. So the Exchequer has to increase taxes or borrow. Borrowing is pretty much out of the question at the moment, so tax rises are on the cards. And part of the blame here has to be laid at Brexit. Laid at Boris Johnson, Nigel Farage and others. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.